was a little bit different. So it um, are you selling or are they buying? And it's about best practices in car sales. And I know that the last story that I did was talked about some similar things, but I wanted to start
Yeah.
for this one. I wanted to start by asking you what comes to mind initially when you hear the question: are you selling or are they buying?
I think the very first thing that comes to my mind is I don't think the consumer's actually buying. By the time they get to the dealership,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're actually buying anything. I
Okay.
mean, at this point in time, it's our responsibility to facilitate an experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, the studies have been out there. I mean, there's the average person visits no more than two dealerships before they make a purchase.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case when I first started selling cars. Like, guys were visiting five or seven dealerships,
Mm-hmm.
before they made a purchase, but because that's just what you had to do. You know, simply because that's where technology was, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, there just wasn't that much information out there,
Yeah.
readily available. So you had to visit these locations to get that kind of to get what you needed to make an actual purchasing decision.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this was one of the things we touched on last time, but that sort of implies that the process of like if we're talking about best practices in sales, we're at a point then where the sales process is well underway by the time someone comes into one of those two dealerships that they're going to visit, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, look. At the end of the day, the only reason they end up going to a second location is because we fucked it up.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's either we actually fucked it up and didn't provide a frictionless process,
Mm-hmm.
or legitimately the car just didn't actually fit their needs. People do come in, saying this is the car I'm gonna get, and then they get into like, oh shit, it's too tight, it's not comfortable. Like, those are things you really can't control, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, the customers are sold way before this. We got to stop selling. I just honestly, I gotta believe we just have to stop selling. We actually have to start branding.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, and brand is way more important than it is selling. As consumers, and we kind of talked about this a little bit last time, but as consumers, there are three stories that we buy into.
Mm-hmm.
There's the story of the product, the story of the dealership, and the story of the manufacturer.
Uh-huh.
All right, it's those stories that we want to actually be a part of. The other day, I was pumping gas, and a yellow Porsche pulled up next to me.
Yeah.
And guy gets out of it. He's got a FAF jacket on, FAF Auto.
Yep.
Okay, and I don't know. Did I tell you this story last time or no?
No.
I don't think so, because I think it just happened recently. The guy pulls out. He got a FAF jacket on. I'm sitting there pumping gas. I'm just like, I just start talking to him like he's in the automotive industry, right? Just shooting the shit. How was your month? Da, 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 da. And he's kind of going along with it, but I know it's kind of a little odd. And then he's like, wait a second. I think you think I sell cars, right? And he's like, I'm like, yeah. I mean, you got a FAF jacket on, right? He's like, no. I don't sell cars. I'm actually a financial advisor. I thought we actually met at a seminar. I was going along with the conversation because I thought we met, and I didn't want to seem like an idiot. So then I had to ask. I'm like, where did the FAF jacket from? He goes, I got it when I bought the Porsche.
Ah.
And so it says FAF on the back, and then on the front in small print it says Porsche.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this guy's actually out there representing a brand.
Yeah.
Not just the fact that he bought a Porsche, he bought a Porsche at FAF.
Right.
So he bought into their brand.
Mm-hmm.
The experience, and then of course I had to ask him about his experience. How was it? He was just everything was top notch. Like, they were just Johnny on the spot. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted a very specific vehicle. They helped me through the entire ordering process. They kept communications with me as the car was being built. Like, it was just he wanted. You could almost see on the look on his face that he wanted to share the story with me
Yeah.
so badly, because he now owns this story, and anytime someone gets to ask him about his car,
Yeah.
he then gets to tell the story about how he bought it and the experience that he received.
So I know a guy who works for FAF, and he posts a lot on Instagram, Facebook, etc. Photos of cars they've got in the showroom, and he works specifically, I think, at the. I don't know if it's specifically a Porsche store, but Porsche, I think, is one of the brands he primarily works with for them, and it's so being that he is operating in an upscale market. Is a customer more likely to find that kind of experience if they're buying a high-end car, or should they also expect it if they're buying something more affordable?
Well, I mean, look, I think it's all perception, right? I mean, look, $25,000 to people is a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, $175,000 to certain people are a lot of money. You know, dealerships out there that are doing this and doing this really well, you know, they're treating every single customer as if they are that $175,000. I hate the fact that we kind of have to separate out the way we treat our customers based on the amount of money they're spending with us.
Sure, yeah.
Like that's total bullshit, right? Like that's just like that's horrible. Like we really shouldn't have to be doing that at all. You know, the way I had my dealership structured was that I paid my guys a salary, and in that salary, they were a lot of required job duties and responsibilities, right? Yeah. Now I paid them a volume bonus based on the volume of cars they sold.
Okay.
The reason I did that is it gave them the opportunity to, as the dealership made more money, they made more money, right? All based on the volume.
Sure.
But the cool thing is that this ensured that the customer experience was the exact same, regardless if the guy came in on a $10,000 used car or a $75,000 new car.
Oh, okay.
Like, I did not want the customer to have any different of an experience. So by removing that commission from the salesperson, to them, they weren't being physically rewarded or financially rewarded for treating one customer better than the other.
Now, just to clarify, so then that in that commission structure, it's a percent. Is it like a percentage
of the gross profit?
Right. Okay. So if you sell them in that structure, if you sell a more expensive car, you get more money.
That's right.
Okay, so you're taking that out of the picture altogether.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. And so is that then is it fair to say that kind of democratizes the process so that everyone gets in order so that everyone can get the same experience regardless of what they're buying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, that's really cool.
Because then it doesn't matter, right? Mm-hmm. It's like our job is not to sell cars. Our job, because the problem here's the other problem too. When you sell something to somebody, you know, if you're being financially rewarded based on the profitability of that product, you may actually sell them or recommend the product that's actually not in the best of their interest.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was just talking to my video guy Austin, and he was just like, I got talking because he orders so much online, he buys so much online now.
Yep.
And he said one of the reasons he does that is because he got burned a couple times.
Oh, okay.
He went into a camera shop, bought some camera equipment, and the guy sold him on a much more expensive, setup than he really actually needed in the first place. And that happens all the time at dealerships. We end up selling them crap that they don't actually need, or maybe because the salespeople's pay structure is so heavily reliant on the profitability.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. I'm very I guess what I want to say is that I'm impressed with that approach that you took, because it seems very sensible.
It's customer centric.
Sure, yeah.
It's putting the customer in front of your own needs.
Right.
But the funny thing is that when you do that, you're the one that actually ultimately ends up winning. Right.
Yeah.
You know, I use this example a lot, but when I order something from Amazon now, whenever they deliver it at my house, they take a picture of that box on my front door.
Yeah.
And then I get a notification of the picture. Mm-hmm. Now think about that. All right, now think about it. There's a big monster company, a humongous company, Think of all the systems, all the process, all the investment they had to do to simply provide me this single picture of this package being on my front door.
Yeah.
What is that direct ROI to them?
Huh.
There isn't. They did it for the consumer.
Huh. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it's completely selfless process. There's no value. I mean, there's no value for them having to put together all the tech that every driver needs to keep with them. All right, all the back-end system requirements and server requirements to make sure that the image is attached to every single order. Like, I mean, that's just. I can't imagine how much that costs them to actually do that and put that entire process in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it values me because I'm like, oh, cool. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to get home. Look, there's my Amazon order right there sitting on my door. Or it's like, hey, hun, you're on your way home right now. Amazon just delivered the package. Can you please make sure to grab it before you head inside?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it also, I guess, would address the issue of where you hear about companies like UPS, FedEx saying that, oh yeah, we tried to deliver your package, but you weren't home, but you were home, and they just didn't bother to like wait long enough for you to answer the door or something like that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So following on the idea of putting the customer first, there's this. I guess there's a stigma about buying cars where a lot of shoppers say they don't enjoy visiting car dealerships.
Of course.
So
it's right up there with going to the lawyer or visiting my dentist.
Right. Yeah. So what other things? What other best practices can you think of off the top of your head that would fix that?
Well, you got to be customer centric,
right?
Like you have, your entire process has to be in their benefit, not your benefit.
Right.
Okay. So let's talk about like the very first time you walk into a dealership. Someone comes out, shakes your hand, introduces themselves. All right, then you get the meet and greet.
Yeah.
Now, what dealerships in the past have taught salespeople is now you got to qualify them.
Right.
You got to qualify them to make sure that the product is the right product for them, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
But this is a very old school way of qualifying. We still have to qualify, but we don't qualify to the product. We qualify to where they are in their sales process.
Yeah.
We have to be respectful of the consumer and their time. Are they shopping? Are they researching? Or are they legitimately out to buy because they've done so much? If we can cater our processes to the individual where they are in their sales funnel, then we can provide them an experience that's unique to them as an individual. For example, someone comes in and goes, you know what, Jason, I'm just doing research. That's great. I know now that I'm going to prepare myself for the next 3 hours, and that we're literally going to go through the ins and outs of this car, and by the time they leave, they're going to know just as much about this product as I do, if maybe more than 90% of the entire population.
Yeah.
You know? And now if they're coming and say, look, I'm shopping, that's great. Let's talk about what you're shopping against. Now, as a professional, I should know my competition.
Sure.
I should be able to have a intellectual conversation. I use intellectual conversation, not a selling conversation. An intellectual conversation on why a Honda Civic is comparable to a Hyundai Elantra.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and not put down Honda, but literally have an intellectual conversation. Well, here's what I have found the big differences are. Let me show you a couple of things I found unique that the Hyundai has, and maybe the Honda doesn't. You know, but if they're ready to buy, I mean, they're like, oh man, this is like I've owned a Nissan before. I had a Rogue. Like, I'm getting here to get my another Rogue.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's just get straight into it. You know, let's bypass all this stuff. Let's take one for a rip. Let's come back and let's just, price out the deals.
Sure.
The other thing too is so it's all in the sales process, right? Even all the way down to the way we present payments. Why in the world would a dealership need to sell a customer on a payment? Like, I don't know, like the way our payment process is set up right now, it's ridiculous. So here's what happens. Customer walks in the dealership, they take a test drive, they come back. All right, now it's time for me to present my payments to them. Okay?
Right.
So I fill out a piece of paper, I disappear into an office, a black hole, and I'm in that office for roughly about 7 to 10 minutes, and I'm going to come back out with a piece of paper that's handwritten, all right, in very sometimes not even legible handwriting, and with a number with very little explanation or almost no explanation, how the hell I actually achieved that number.
Sure.
Now I got to sell you this payment.
Yeah.
You got to buy. So then that starts like I get it. What? Huh? Like that just seems like the most asinine, like non-transparent process that I could actually possibly ever think of. Right. So the way that we did it at our dealership is, well, I don't like desk. I don't like desk at all because I feel like with desk, what happens is you get immediate confrontation when it comes to physical body language. You sit on one side of the desk, I sit on the other side of the desk. You have my cards, I have my cards, you have your cards.
Yeah.
It's an instant game of poker, right? So in my dealership, I use nothing but round tables. Round tables allows us to sit side by side and actually work together towards something. So I'm all about body language.
Okay.
Body language also, when it is, I want the customer to lean into what we're doing, not lean back in their chair. So again, I'm all about body language.
Okay.
So what we did is in every one of our desks, we actually turned them into what I call a product pod. Instead of an office, I called it a product pod.
Okay.
And in there was nothing but a keyboard, a round table, a few chairs, and a TV mounted on the wall. That's it. No phone, no brochures, no nothing, no clutter. That's all it is. And so we took customers in there when they were done with their test drive, and we brought up the payment system on the screen, 50-inch screen, mounted to the wall. Everyone can freaking see it. Right?
Right.
Now, originally, the idea was the salesperson would walk them through the actual building of the payment.
Yeah.
What ended up happening was that the customer started grabbing the keyboard themselves and doing it.
Oh, okay.
Now, the cool thing is this was actually incredibly beneficial for us because what ended up happening is that at the end of this 5-step payment process that they did digitally up on the screen is that it produced a payment that they generated, not a payment that we generated.
Oh, okay.
So the ownership of that payment wasn't our responsibility to sell you that payment because you literally physically clicked all the buttons yourself. You generated that payment.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
So, it's all, every single process we have has to be developed for the customer, not for ourselves.
Yeah.
But we bring customers in the dealership, we force them through this process that we decided is the appropriate process to buy a car.
Oh. So that's when you were talking about that, your product pods, was the concept of the customer sort of taking over, was that something that was like an unintended consequence kind of thing that
Yes.
you didn't expect? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have to be open, right? Our intention was, so here's what my brand was. So I first defined what my dealership's brand was. My dealership's brand was that we were going to be a tech-savvy, customer-centric dealership.
Okay.
That's what I was. That's who I was as an individual.
Yeah.
That's how I wanted people, when they asked them, I'm like, hey, give me 2 words that describe your experience. I wanted them to say technology and customer-centric, or something that's within that same wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was my goal.
Okay.
So the cool thing is by developing out those, what I call branding cornerstones, every single one of my sales processes, and including my marketing, was all dictated by those 2 things.
Oh, okay. Now, when we were speaking last time, we talked a lot about branding and individual salespeople developing their own brands. Now, you were just talking about the brand that you had built up for your dealership as a whole. How important is it for a dealership to say this is our brand, and to what extent do the salespeople need to operate within that, or find their own ways to brand themselves and interact with buyers?
So the salespeople's brands is actually what brings the people in the door.
Okay.
So creating that individual brand is what's going to generate people walking through the door.
Yeah. Okay.
And when they walk through the door, they're now in my brand.
Right.
And these are the 2 things that my brand represents. And this is why I paid my guys a salary, because I had a very, very, very specific process and expectation of what they were going to do.
Okay.
And I wanted absolutely no variation of any kind to what those processes were, because otherwise I couldn't measure. If I had somebody out there providing payments in five, if I had 5 salespeople out there and all 5 of them were presenting payments differently,
Yeah.
how in the hell was I ever going to know what was effectively working and what wasn't?
Okay. Yeah.
So the individual brands is what can drive someone in and say, oh, I like that guy. He's similar to me. I feel comfortable with that person. I want to go talk to that person. But once they come to the door, then they participated in our brand and making sure that we were a tech savvy and customer centric dealership.
Okay. Okay. Very cool.
It goes into those stories, right? Now
Yeah.
I'm buying multiple stories. I got the story of the salesperson. I felt real comfortable with them on the phone. I felt really comfortable with them when we were talking over email. This is a person that I feel like comfortable I can buy from, right? Then they can't. The reason that they're coming in the first place because they've already bought the story of the product. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Right. Now I got to sell them the story of the dealership, and in a lot of cases, the story of the manufacturer, because not a lot of them come in knowing the story of the manufacturer.
Yeah. Okay. Now, and one last thing I want to touch on follows on what you mentioned about, say, someone coming to your Honda store and you comparing with them a Honda product to say a Hyundai or a Mazda product.
Sure.
If you're running a used car operation and somebody comes in and says, hey, I see that you have this Civic for sale. At what point do you say as a salesperson, do you know what? I want to show you this competitive product, this Hyundai or this Mazda as well, just so that you might be aware of certain differences. How do you do that without making the customer feeling like you're kind of pushing them around?
You have to earn that right.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like you need to know them. You need to know their needs and their wants. You need to understand who they are as an individual, why they're shopping for this.
Okay.
If you're ever going to feel like you got to get to a place where, only professionals can recommend more than what the individual came in for.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of comes to the line and say, you know what? I know what you really, really like about this car.
Yeah.
There's another one over here that I think would also fall within your wheelhouse. And here's why I think that's the case.
Okay.
But, there's a difference between presenting and selling.
Okay.
That's presenting, right? You're presenting them options, all right? That's in their interest, not your interest. The second you do it in your interest, if the consumer, for a moment, just a nanosecond, the consumer feels like you're doing something that doesn't necessarily benefit them, boom, they're done. They're out.
Right. Oh, yeah, okay.
You can. I've literally seen it on. Because I love reading body language, right? I can literally see it in their eyes, where it's like everything was good. Oh crap! This guy's trying to sell me something.
Yeah.
And you can almost see it in their face. It just kind of, and you can see it in their eyes, and you're just like, here we go. All right, give me your sales pitch. So, I don't. Yeah, it's not. So, what was the title of the article again? Selling or
are you selling or are they buying?
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. That's what I thought too. It was yeah.
Is that normally how you write articles? Like, does normally the title come first and then the content comes after, or is it more the content comes first and then the title comes later?
Well, this one.
I'm just curious.
This one I took that line as a starting point to decide what I wanted to talk about. A lot of the time it can go the other way where there's a more of kind of a vague idea of what I want to talk about, and then then what happens is I'll talk to you for example, or any of the other experts I'll call up. And
did you call Andrew? It's funny, we didn't even know we were highlighted on the same article.
Oh, Andrew Lemoyne?
Yeah, because we both know each other really well.
So, nice. Okay.
We totally geeked out when when we found out we were both on the same article.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
Well,
yeah,
what,
those guys are cool.
so what happens sometimes is what comes out of an interview will completely change the focus of a story, just because something interesting comes out of it, and that that happened to a certain extent with that last story from talking to you and Andrew, because you guys had some really good anecdotes and insights. So it can go either way. It really depends on the topic that I start out with and who I speak to. Yeah. So it's this one. My editor tends to give me kind of vague ideas of what she wants me to write about, and then basically just lets me run with it and let the story go where it goes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a fun way to do it. It's kind of a. When I went to journalism school, we learned how to write hard news stories, and then we learned how to write like this kind of more feature type of thing, and it's totally different approach, and I kind of like this one better because you never really know what you're going to get.
No, you don't, and it's actually really kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Would you be cool if I posted some portion of this call online socially for myself?
Oh no, yeah, of course. That'd be no problem at all.
Like if I can kind of build up some, an audience or some anticipation to the article.
You bet. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So I really dig. I dig the concept. Are you selling or are they buying? Are they selling? Well, no, we're not selling. And B, are they buying? Are they buying or are they consuming?
Yeah.
It's actually a good point. I'm trying to think about that. No, they're buying.
Yeah.
They're buying. We just gotta stop selling.
And you see, I like that because this is an angle to the sales process that hadn't occurred to me. I mean, I've never worked in sales, right? So I don't know. This is why I talk to people like you about this stuff. But this is a thing that had never even occurred to me, that the process has changed to the point that the salesperson doesn't even need to sell anymore. So it's
just we have to provide an experience. People are looking for experience now. You know what I mean? That's what they. I mean, people are going on Amazon. They're buying stuff for a few dollars more than they can buy it in the store, because the experience on Amazon is cleaner and less friction than it is for me going into the store.
Sure. Yeah.
Like it's not about the price. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's about a frictionless experience that can save me time.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I'm going to my lawyer. I don't want to feel like, should I bring a lawyer with me on this one? Like, I mean, it's just, no, seriously. Sometimes I see like these guys come out with all this paperwork and contracts. I'm like, whoa, what? I just asked a question. What's going on right now? Yeah, and you'll start seeing that the dealerships are changing them too. Like, it's not even the words we're using. We're not even using the word sales professional in a lot of cases. There are so many people that are using the word product advisor or product consultant.
Right.
We're using the word sale a lot less in our entire industry language.
Now, is that a reflection of the way the process has changed, or is that a way to try to change consumer perceptions?
It's both.
Okay.
So it's leaning towards how the process is changing. In addition to that, trying to change the consumer's perspective. Because, like, honestly, who the hell enjoys getting sold? I mean, do you? I'm sure,
no.
You ever been sold something? Like,
totally.
You felt like you just got sold.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's a dirty feeling. Like, you kind of need to take a shower after.
Yeah, 100%, 100% agreed. Yeah. So I mean, personally, I like the sound of this new way of more modern way of doing this process. So so I imagine a lot of other people do too.
Easier. Yeah. Well, it's just doing it for the client. It's just doing it for the customer. That's what it is. It's just every single process, every single piece of marketing material, everything we do needs to be with the intent of providing value to the consumer. And the more value that we provide to the consumer, the higher our brand equity becomes with them, which just yields to more profitability for us. It's such a win-win. Putting the customer first is such a win-win. I'm just amazed why there's not more people out there doing it.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Jason, I have covered everything I needed to, or everything I wanted to speak to you about. Unfortunately, I've got to go.
Sure.
But listen, I really appreciate your time. It's really nice to talk to you again, and I'm very, very grateful for your time. I know how busy you are, so thank you very much.
Anytime. You let me know, and we'll get together. Love to connect at some time in person. That'd be awesome.
Well, if you're up in Ottawa any time, give me a holler, and if I'm around, we can meet for
in fact,
for a coffee.
I'll make a note of that, and next time I'm up there, let's connect, grab a coffee, or maybe lunch or something.
Yeah, I'd like that. That'd be great. So definitely drop me a line when you're in town, and let's try to make it happen.
Great. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Jason. Have a great afternoon and a nice weekend.
Thanks, you too.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.